In this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding some pegs to this face mask and then some corresponding holes in the helmet so that you could theoretically interchange different face masks into this helmet by just popping the mask on and off using this peg and hole combination. So a lot of those same principles you can apply to cutting and keying an entire figure, for example. So after we do this helmet, if you want to stick around, we're going to cut and key an entire figure that I have ready to go. Or if you're more interested in just the figure, how to cut and key a figure, you can skip ahead to that. But we're going to start by adding some pegs to this face mask. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the mask and hide the helmet. We're going to flip around to the back here. Alright, so we need to add some pegs to here. So we do that by going up to Meshmixer here. Grab the cylinder and drag that on. You can go ahead and we can change the size here. And hit accept. And there's my peg. Default name is going to be dropped part. I'm just going to double click on there and then I'm going to change that name to peg. And then I'm going to hit T for transform. And I do want this flush to this clip here. I'm just going to make some minor adjustments. I bring it back there. Okay, that's pretty flush, close enough for what we're doing here. I might make this a little bit longer by grabbing here and giving a pull. I just want to make sure it's not poking out through the end there. So it's just making contact. And bring this down a little bit. And here. Okay. Hey, look at these measurements here. What I'm going to do is you don't have to do this at all, but I'm just going to kind of clean this up a bit. So I'm just going to change that to 2, and this to 3, and this to 2. And I can do that because I have uniform scaling turned off. Then I'm going to hit accept. Alright, so we got that peg. With the peg selected, go down here and hit this button for duplicate. And then hit T for transform and take my duplicate. Bring it down. Bring it over. Here. Pull it out. We gotta change the angle just a little bit. Keep it flush. Okay, that looks good. All right, so we got our 2 pegs on this side. So at this point, what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to turn the helmet back on. I'm going to turn the mask off. And I want to kind of see where these pegs are landing. So this is good. It's going to go right into this shield here. And this peg here, it is going to punch through here. It's going to create a hole there, which is okay. It would have to come up pretty high. And that's not going to work. So, but I do like to kind of at this point kind of take a look at the inside to see what it's going to do. I think that is going to be okay. All right, so turn the helmet back off. Rotate back around. All right. Got these 2. I'm going to just go ahead and select them both and then hit duplicate again. Now, probably asking, why don't I just mirror those pegs over to the other side? And this is not the first time I've tried to record this video. I was doing mirroring in the first one. And what I was finding for some reason when I mirrored those pegs over to the other side, it was changing the dimensions of my pegs, and I'm not sure why it was messing with the dimensions. Did some Googling, I could not figure it out. So I'm just going to duplicate and then sort of manually transform to bring those over, because I would like to keep them a uniform size all the way through. Okay, so we'll go there. All right, and that looks good. Hit accept, and we have our 4 pegs. And what I want to do is go ahead and hit duplicate for those 4, and these 4 are going to become our holes. So I'm going to go hole 1, hole 2, 3, and hole 4. Okay, so I've got my 4 holes and I've got my 4 pegs. All right, so with the pegs at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the 4 pegs and I'm going to hit combine. All right, now they are one object, and then I'm also going to select the face mask and hit combine again. Now I could have selected all those 4 pegs and the face mask at once and hit combine. Same thing. Okay, so now my mask and my pegs are all one object. And now I have my 4 holes, which I'm going to make in the helmet. Now, the holes are the exact, and I mean exact same size as the pegs, which means it's never actually going to fit. Okay, it's going to be too tight. You know, exposure settings and curing process, you're not going to get an exact fit. So we do actually want our holes just a little bit bigger than the pegs. All right, so what I'm going to do, with hole number 1 selected, I'm going to hit T for transform, and we're at 232. I'm going to put on uniform scaling, and I'm going to change this to 2.25 to get it a little bit bigger. You can enlarge it as much as you want or as little as you want, as long as you're, you know, consistent. Hit OK. Select, let's see. Oh, I want hole 2. Hit transform. 2.25. Hole 3. T for transform. 2.25. And hole 4. T for transform. 2.25. All right, and hit accept. All right, now what I can do is I can take my 4 holes here and hit combine, and then I'm gonna go ahead and hide the mask, turn back on the helmet. All right, so there we got our helmet. We got our pegs, which are gonna become our holes. I need to start by selecting the helmet first. Okay, and then you want to select the object you want to use to cut with. So I'm going to select, hold down shift and click on my hole object. Okay, so it selects those 4 there. And then what I'm going to do is select Boolean difference. There you go. You can see it made these cutouts. Now I uncheck auto reduce result, and then I then I change precise to max quality, because I want to make sure it's as nice a carve out as possible. And then I hit accept, and there you go. You've got the 4 holes now inside the helmet, and you've got a mask that should fit right inside those holes. Turn off the helmet here, look, and just like so. So that's how you would go about adding pegs to a face mask, and then using those to cut holes in the helmet that line up. You do have to make sure, of course, that your mask and your helmet is, you know, lined up, you know, how you want before you do that. But that's that works. And then so next we'll go over cutting and keying of a figure. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to cut and key this model I've put together. So what we got here is Packer's new tight end, Tucker Craft. So I mocked together this pose, taking different parts from existing models and cutting and piecing them together. Basically everything that we used to do in the McFarlane hobby of taking parts and pieces from different figures and fitting them together to make a new pose. That's exactly what I did here. I roughed it out, and then using a combination of Meshmixer and Blender, I posed it the way I wanted to, made some adjustments, did some additional sculpting, and here we go. But this isn't cut and keyed at all. If I click on this arm, for example, and sort of highlight it there, you can see, you know, this cuts into the torso here. Goes past the armhole. The neck goes further down. You know, all these sort of, we have a lot of overlapping parts, which if I was going to print this whole, be fine, but I'm not doing that. So this needs to be properly cut and keyed. So we are going to be starting, we're going to start down here and we're going to work our way up. All right, so when you're cutting and keying, first thing you have to decide is what part you're going to be cutting. And because my pants extend over the lower leg, over the sock, I want to use the pant to cut into the leg. So when you go through this process, you are going to lose the object that you're going to be cutting with, so we do need to create a duplicate. So I'm going to use this button down here, which makes a duplicate, and I need 2 of them because there's 2 legs. So I hit it again. Now I've got my 2 duplicates. I'm going to hide the original, and I'll hide one of my dupes. All right, so now what you want to do is first you select the object you want to keep. Then you hold down Shift and you click on the object you're going to use to cut or subtract. With those 2 selected, you hit Boolean difference. And this process can go slow or fast depending on the size and complexity of the objects. And so I get a little preview of my cut right there. Nice clean cut. Now what I always do is I uncheck auto reduce result, which is going to create a little bit more processing. Again, the speed will depend on the complexity. And then for solution mode, I change precise to max quality. Again, it does a little bit of thinking. And then I hit accept. And now I have a nice clean surface that actually matches the surface of the bottom of that pant leg. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on this other copy. And we're going to cut this one. So I'm going to select the leg first, the lower leg first, and then Shift and click on the pant that I'm using to cut with. Hit Boolean difference. It's going to think. This one's taking a little bit longer than the first one. I'm going to see what this looks like. All right. This is not good. All right, what do we got here? Whenever you see this maroonish red color, that means it failed. All right, and we've got it's showing we got some issues in the mesh here that it's having trouble resolving. If I were to hit accept, it would fail. So I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel. All right, so this is good. I don't mind when the demo isn't perfect and errors happen, because now we can walk through the issue in real time. And because if this happens to you, you're going to want to know what to do in this situation. errors like this, it's not like there's two errors that are going to be exactly alike. So how you fix them is going to be different, but you get the idea. So, all right, this is what we want to do. First, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hide this pan because I want to see what's going on here. Now, the error, it was showing an issue somewhere around here as having problems making that difference, I believe. Yeah, it was in here. First thing I want to do is I want to make sure that there aren't any errors in this particular part right here. So I'm going to hit analysis and inspector. Okay, and it didn't detect any errors. Okay, so that's good. But that would be the first thing I check. Make sure there's no errors in there, and then resolve those. But we don't have any errors. So then other things that can cause that error to happen are, you got a really complex or oddly shaped mesh on one and not on the other, or two very complex shapes and meshes. It can create a lot of errors. So again, I'm gonna take I want to see. The error was happening underneath the pan because that's, it's where it's cutting from. So just want to see where I want to remember sort of where the pan goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the select brush and I'm just going to sort of draw a selection right around the outside here. And I'm going to go modify and create face group. It's just going to change the color of the mesh there. It's not changing the model at all. I'm going to go ahead and hide this pant again. Okay. So I know that this is the part that was covered over by the pant, and the error was somewhere kind of around here. So because you're not going to see any of this sock texture, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead. I got my shrink smooth, and I'm going to smooth this out because maybe it's this sock texture that it's struggling with for some reason in this area. So I'm gonna smooth this out. Like I said, you're not gonna see any of this part of the sock anyways, so might get lucky, and this solves the problem. So we're gonna smooth it out like that. And that's good. And then I'm going to turn the pan back on. And let's see if that did the trick. So I have the bottom leg selected. I'm going to shift click on the upper leg. Going to hit Boolean difference. It's going to think, and let's see what happened. Okay, so that was that. Okay, so that was the issue. Now, what do these colors tell us? So the orange is showing where a cut was made into the other part of the model. So it was not cutting in to this purple part. So it wasn't a complete overlap. And I think it was a combination of not being a complete overlap in this part, and then you also had this bumpier texture from the sock in that same place, which created the error. So you had sort of two things. You had the two pieces that you were cutting from weren't perfectly overlapped, and then two, you had this added issue of this texture going on. But it did solve the problem, and now we've got our cut. I'm going to uncheck auto reduce result. And then change this to max quality. And hit accept. And there you go. Oftentimes when you run these, you'll get a couple of points, these red points. These are errors in the mesh. You see those? Clean them up. It's just a potential for future problems when printing. I can just do auto repair all. Sometimes it's no big deal. It won't be an issue, but sometimes it can be. And so when I see those red dots, red marks on the model, it just means there's an error, and it should be fixed. Now, if you don't like having all these extra colors here, you can hit the S tool and then Command or Control A to select all, and then modify clear face group, and now it's all one face group. All right, so now we've successfully made a cut into these two legs. So now what we have, when we add the pant back, these lower legs are going to fit perfectly flush with the bottom of the pants. So that is the cut, but we want to key those. All right, so what I'm going to do is hide the pant, and in this video we are going to do we're going to use some squares for keys. So go over to Meshmix here, select the cube, drop it on your spot, shrink it up, hit accept, select it, center it up, scale it up, about there, and accept. Okay, so this is going to be our peg. All right, now if I hit W to show my wireframe, this is a denser mesh than this is, and sometimes when you are combining and cutting, especially if you have something that's very low poly, it doesn't always give you the cleanest cut. So I have been sort of remeshing my keys here. So I hit the select tool, double click on it, edit, remesh, just crank that up, and at least get the mesh to be a little bit closer to the surface that it's on. Okay, when there's I've found when there's a big mismatch between the density of the meshes, we can just run into issues. All right, okay, that looks good. I could go ahead and just duplicate this and bring it over here. If I want them to be the same size, it doesn't matter if they are or not, but since I already remeshed it, I don't have to create a new one and then also remesh it over here. So, all right, okay, so I've got my peg. It's gonna be totally hidden, by the pant. If I can click on the magnet to sort of get this X-ray view of the inside of the pant. I can kind of pan around and make sure that that's centered. All right, so I've got my peg, but I also need the corresponding hole. So before I do anything else, I am going to hit duplicate and then name that hole, and I'm going to hit T for transform. And again, I want the hole to be a little bit bigger than the peg. So it's at 4.7 right now. I'm going to go ahead and just change that to 5. Hit tab. Set uniform scaling so it makes it bigger all the way around. Hit accept, and now I've got a slightly larger hole. I could do the same thing over here right away if I like, but let's just focus on this one for right now. Gonna hide that. All right, so I do want to combine these two. All right, whenever you combine a Meshmixer, you have two choices to make on how you want to join these together. I can select both and hit combine, and that's fine. This is now one object, and if I decide I don't like that it's one object, I can go edit and separate shells. And now it is two objects. Now, when you separate shells, sometimes you get you find a lot of extra things in there. Oh, I got some garbage leftover stuff up there. I don't want that. So let's get rid of that. We got all sorts of fun little artifacts. There we go. So now we're just back. The separate shells got us back to where we started. Okay. Now you're thinking, that's awesome. Why wouldn't I always combine? Because combine gives me the option to change my mind later and make them two separate objects again. And you're not wrong. There's a lot of good use cases for using combine, because then you can go back and separate shells later. But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm not planning on separating that out in the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run Boolean union. So the opposite of Boolean difference. And again, I don't want to auto reduce. And I want max quality. And hit accept. Okay. So same result. It is one object now. But here is where this might be advantageous, or why you might choose to use Boolean union over combine. Now, it might not make a big difference if you're going to keep this figure at McFarlane scale. But let's decide you want to go 12-inch or larger. If you're going to go larger, then what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up hollowing out this model in your slicing program. Or you can hollow. You can hollow in Meshmixer too, but you're going to end up hollowing this part. If you do combine, whatever application you choose to do your hollowing in, it's going to treat these objects individually, and it's going to hollow each of them separately, which can create a big mess when you're hollowing your model and trying to put in drain holes and all that. It's from a hollowing perspective, it's going to be much easier if this is one contiguous solid object. It's going to be easier to hollow later on. If you combine them all, if you just do the combine, it's going to hollow this as one action and then hollow this as another action, and that can just lead to trouble. So in this case, because I may go larger in the future, I'm going to Boolean union these instead of do combine. All right. I can leave these colors as is, or I could select them and clear face group if I wanted to. I'm just going to leave them. Going to hide those, turn back on the pants, turn on the hole. And that's nice and center. So again, I'm going to select the pant first, then select the object I'm going to use to cut with. I'm going to hit Boolean difference to make sure I get a nice, clean, square cutout. I'm going to uncheck auto reduce and change this to max quality, and then hit accept. And now we've got a nice cutout there, and that should all fit flush, and the peg should fit right into that hole. Because I made the hole slightly larger, hopefully it should still result in a pretty snug fit. I'll probably still, after printing, have to do just a little bit of sanding. But if I left it exactly the same size, I would definitely have to do a lot of sanding and cleaning to make that fit. So by making that hole just slightly larger, it's going to reduce the amount of sanding I have to use, if any. Take a look at this one, kind of see where that cube, turn that off and look. That's where that cube is going to end up. Maybe I want to move this one, sort of center that a little bit more, and then turn that off, turn this on. And, that's still in a good place for here. So I've got my peg. Let's duplicate, and then call that hole. Hit T for transform. We're going to bump that up to 5. Hit OK. Hide that. Select the leg. Select the peg there. And then hit Boolean Union. Now, when you use Boolean Union, it does not matter which one you select first. You can select either one because you're combining them. Only reason why I select the leg first and not the peg is because whatever you select first, it's going to keep that name. And I prefer this to be called craft right leg, so I know exactly what it is, as opposed to peg. So I don't have to go and change the name at all. So that's looking great. Turn on the pant, turn on the hole, select. And now this is order of operations. It's important here when you do Boolean difference. So I selected the pant first, and then the hole, the object I'm going to use to cut into the pant. Hit Boolean difference. Nice and clean. Uncheck auto. And max quality. Honestly, I wish I knew what some of these other things did. I haven't played enough with these. Just then through trial and error, I found that I get the cleanest cuts by unchecking this and doing this. What all these all do, I wish I knew. Hit accept. There we go. Done and done. All right, so that takes care of the leg. So then the next one I would want to do is cleaning up the waist and working that connection. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to hide the arms and clean up that name. Just get rid of shell there. Okay. All right. So again, because the jersey kind of extends over like this, I'm going to be using the top to cut the bottom. So that means I need to make a duplicate of the torso, hide the original, select the pant, shift click on that duplicate I make, so I'm going to use that to cut the pant, hit Boolean difference. Good. Nice clean cut, no errors. Uncheck auto reduce. And accept. We ended up with some small issues in our mesh here. Let's go ahead and clean those up. Inspector. Okay, we got a lot. Oh boy, we got a lot going on. Somewhere inside the model. Auto repair all. Okay, look, I don't see, like, it didn't do anything extremely weird. So ended up with these little microscopic little sort of like divots there, which I'm not going to worry about. That's going to be just fine. All right, so now we want to make some sort of connector point here. So I'm going to go up into here. I'm going to select the cube. I've done these with cylinders as well, but at least with the cube, you're going to be locking it into the exact correct position. So right away, I do like to rename that peg, so I keep my pegs and holes properly named, so I don't get them mixed up. All right. Let's get rid of the helmet and the chin strap and the head and the mask. Okay. Just eyeballing to get it, you know, mostly center. Might make it a little bit taller here. Overall a little bit bigger. Okay. I want to maybe just a little bit shorter. Okay. Again, I'm gonna remesh it. So I'm gonna I hit W to see my wireframe, S to select, double clicked on it, edit, remesh, crank that up. I might run it one more time. There we go. Like I said, I like to. I've just found when these two surfaces that I'm combining have a similar mesh density, I just get cleaner results. All right, there's our peg. Let's duplicate it. Rename it hole. T for transform. We got 10-2, 12-2. Let's just take that middle one, and it's going to be uniformly scaled because that's checked. Let's change that to 12-5. All right. It's a hair bigger. Let's just go ahead and change that to 10-5. All right, so got a little bit bigger. Hit accept. All right. Like I said, you're probably still going to have to do a little bit of sanding, but this is going to get you in a much better spot. I'm going to hide that. All right, so let's combine these two. Select the pad first, then select the object, Boolean union, uncheck, max quality, and accept. There we go. Turn those off. Let's turn back on the torso and bring up our hole. So select the torso first, then select the hole, Boolean difference, uncheck. It's actually going pretty fast, which is nice. Sometimes these Boolean operations can really hog the computer and take a while. Done and done. There we go. Okay, so then all that's left is the arms and the head. All right, so we'll turn back on the right arm. We'll turn back on the left arm. All right, and I want to use the torso to cut my arms, because right now my arms extend into the torso. If I did it the other way around, if I use the arms to cut into the torso, I'd be left with, kind of like deep armholes in there that would be the exact same size as the arm. So you might think, well, that's kind of nice. Then I can just slide the arm up in there. It's not going to be a good fit. I'm going to be doing a lot of sanding. So I just like to do flush cut and then add the pegs. So, because I'm using the torso to cut, well, you need to do 2 copies because we have 2 arms. And then hide 2 of those, all right? Select the arm first, shift click on the torso, difference. This one's taking a little bit longer. And it means, okay, so we've got errors again. All right, so we got, all right, so yeah, you can see sort of the jersey there. So this is where the error is happening. Sort of must be sort of in the way this is all overlapping. So I'm gonna hit cancel. So it's up in there somewhere is where this is happening. So let's start by turning off the arm. All right, so this is where we were getting the error, right about in this area. So let's just go ahead and let's start by doing some smoothing. Let's smooth this You're not going to see this detail anyways. It's getting cut out. So we're going to start there. And just kind of rough smoothing the rest of this area, just kind of so I get a nice clean surface cut on that arm. All right, let's see if that was enough. Oh, I have to hit it. So start by selecting the arm. Oh, I can see some rough areas on here too. I got to go back and fix that. So I'm going to select the arm, select the torso, Boolean difference. Okay, you notice that went faster too. You kind of tell the longer it goes, the greater chance there was an error. Uncheck that. Max quality. And accept. Alright, left a little air there. Repair that. Alright. And then, yep, we're just gonna go. We can go ahead and we can leave that. We could go through and kind of smooth this. It's we find that part's gonna be kind of hidden, anyways, by the body. But I'm gonna clean up that spot too a little bit, even though that's probably not going to show up in the print, but I'm picky like that. All right. So now we got our nice cut. Let's go ahead and add our key right away. Actually, let's cut the other arm. So select the arm, select the torso that we copied earlier. Nice clean cut. See, when that one nice and fast too. Generally, if both objects are not that complex, in the area where the cutting or combining is happening, and they're not terribly mesh dense, it should cut pretty quick. All right, let's clear those up. Let's do smooth fill this time. All right, so those are both cut. Let's go ahead and add our key. So let's go and grab a cube, drop it on the spot, and accept. Center this up. All right, that looks good. Let's up the mesh density. On these objects, running remesh goes really fast. On larger, already mesh dense heavy objects, that can be very slow and taxing on your computer. Like if I try to remesh like a scanned torso, it's kind of a mess. All right, let's name that one peg right away. Let's duplicate it, hit T for transform, and let's just drop it over here. So I'm going to shrink up a little bit. Okay, that looks good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the arm, bring back the torso, because I like to see where that's going to end up lining up, and it's in a good spot for both. Okay, so I can duplicate this one, and we'll name that one hole right away, just so you know which is which. In this case, we're just going to make the hole first. And max quality. And auto reduce. And hit accept. There we go. Hide that. Bring back the arm. Find our peg. There it is. Select them both. Union. Nice and fast. There we go. And let's do this one right away. Make sure we make our hole first before we forget. Union. Go ahead and hide that. Bring back the torso. Highlight our hole. And difference. This one's chugging a little bit on my old computer, but there we go. That's looking good. Oh, that's not looking great. Why is that? This looks like it wasn't actually lined up right. No, it's not lined up right at all. This is making me sad. Oh boy. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if was I not. Yeah, I just hopped over to Blender here. Oh, you know what? I may not have actually finished cleaning up this sleeve. All right. That's fun. So I've got a little undoing to do. All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to undo that. And you're going to see a little bit of Blender work here too. So, all right. I want to undo this. So what I'm going to do is, let's see. I can delete this arm. And import, append, and bring back in the right arm, because I save these parts often in case something like this happens. This is the arm, before we did any cutting and keying. So I do have the original. Let's hide that. Let's bring back the torso, and oh, there we go. So there's the hole we made. That's not going to work because we're going to be redoing this. So let's get rid of the hole. I can't do the same thing I did with the torso because we've already added keys down at the waist and the other arm, and I don't want to undo all of that. It's only this shoulder. Oh, this did not select as cleanly as I was hoping. But we're gonna delete, and then I'm gonna select. Now there's little pieces hanging out in there. Not worried about that, because I'm going to close this up first. Hit accept. Clear selection. We got some artifacts in there. I can clear those faster by just doing inspector and hitting auto repair all, and it's going to grab those two. All right. I also don't like this little nub here. I noticed that earlier, so I'm gonna smooth out this here. All right. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to take this and I'm going to do export. And I'm going to export the torso here. And then right now I'm still working. I want to be able to do everything in Blender, but right now I'm working and bouncing between the two applications. So I'm going to go into Blender here. Going to select the torso and delete it, because that's an older version of the torso before I did any cutting and keying. And then I am going to do import STL, craft torso. All right. There's the newest torso. Okay. Oh yeah. So this this sleeve doesn't match up well to the arm at all. Do not like. All right. So with the torso selected, I need to go into sculpt mode, and my favorite brush is the grab brush. I'm going to increase the size of the brush, and I'm just going to grab on this area and I'm going to pull. I'm just making minor adjustments to the way the sleeve fits up around the arm. And so you kind of have to keep working around adjusting the angle. And if it's real, you have a real big brush, you're going to pull in, you know, more of the mesh. If it's real small, it's just going to kind of focus on a particular area. So I use this brush all the time for sort of adjusting sleeves like this, lengthening sleeves, bulking up or slimming down a little bit. Yeah, get that real tight there. Okay, do a quick pan around, make sure this looks good. Okay, that is a much tighter fit around the sleeve. That's kind of how I want it to fit. That's how it should have fit. Pull that out a little bit. Okay. Now that I have it the way I want, I have to go out of object mode or sculpt mode and go back to object mode, and that's going to save my sculpting changes. With the torso selected, now I can export STL, craft torso. Okay. And go back into Meshmixer. Go ahead, turn back on that arm. So, lousy fit. I'm going to delete the torso that's in here. Import torso I just exported out of Blender. And now, there. Now we have a nice fit. We have a nice fit, and we still have all our keyed work that we did prior. Okay, so problem solved. Good. All right, so make a duplicate of the torso, and we need to cut that. Looks good. You know, it wouldn't be a real demo if, you know, things didn't go wrong. Done plenty of demos, you know, software stuff at work, and, you know, when you can do all the planning you want, you know, things will go wrong. But in this case, you know, I think it's fine because you can see my troubleshooting process. There's a good chance that you're going to run into same or similar errors, and you see how I handle them. Okay, so we need to we have to backtrack a little bit, redo a little bit of work, but we got to do it right. Apologies for not actually ensuring that my model was 100% complete before we started, but I obviously missed that. Up the mesh. One more time, just a little bit. That's good. All right, that looks good there. Let's see, make sure that that looks, that's in a good spot there. All right. Peg, hole, T for transform. Let's make the hole just a little bit bigger. It's at 4.8. Let's go 5.1. Yeah. Accept. Let's go ahead and just subtract the hole right away. You can't see it because the peg's in the way. I didn't turn it off first. That's okay. Max quality. And accept. Alright, so yeah, you can see, you gotta see how the peg is smaller than the hole. My guess is that's gonna be a much tighter fit after printing and curing. We'll see. And, probably depending on how, especially at McFarlane scale, that could be still end up being really tight. If I decided to bump this up to 12 inches, okay, that gap might probably hold. Might end up being a little bit too big, but turn that off. Right arm. Unionize. Reduce. Max quality. Accept. Alright, arm done. Torso good. Where's that head at? Alright, there's the head. Yep, already went through and kind of removed the hair off the head, so I don't run into any weird print issues, as because I will be combining the head and the helmet. I don't want weird islands, under there, so already kind of smoothed that out. And added a mustache using some of the hair stencils that I created for the drive. If you're using the Meshmixer stencils, you can use it to add things like a mustache. All right, we need to cut the neck. I'll need another copy of the torso. Select the head first. Select the torso. Difference. Nice smooth cut under there. Looking good. Let's go ahead and add the peg right away. Drag that on. Accept. Oops, select the peg. I know, I'm being really picky here, sorry. Right there. Okay. Let's remesh that real quick. Alright. Go ahead, rename that peg. Make another one. Call it hole. T for transform. 5.4. Let's go 5.8. That looked really big. Let's go 5.7. Okay. Accept. Go ahead and hide that. Let's combine these first. We're not actually combining. We're doing Boolean union. In case I ever want to hollow out the head. Accept. That looks great. Hide that. Bring back the torso. Let's cut that out. Looks good. And voila. That is how you cut and key an entire figure. We got some troubleshooting in there. That's all great. Where's that head? There's his helmet. Now, heads and helmet, I do combine. And I can always use, if I want to reuse this head later with a different helmet, I can do separate shells and remove the head from the helmet. And I will be printing this at a smaller scale, so combining and printing this solid should not be an issue at all. So, but let me, okay, bonus tip for you. I'm gonna copy this, bring this over, hit accept. Okay, and then on this one, I'm gonna do separate shells. All right, so you can see separate shells. It undid this here. Now, when I'm doing a large scale figure, and I've done some 18-inch figures recently, obviously you need to hollow this out. And we already talked about issues with hollowing when you have combined objects, because it's going to try to hollow the helmet separately and then hollow the head separately. That's going to be tricky. And I honestly don't want the only things that might potentially get hollowed in the helmet is going to be, within some of these pads, and it's going to be really awkward to try to go and add drain holes inside the helmet, especially because I'm saying you would have to Boolean union the helmet and the head, and then you're hollowing the helmet and trying to find places for drain holes in here. Kind of a mess. So the way I solved this with the last couple of 18-inch figures that I did, and it worked really well, is let's hide the helmet here, is I hollowed the head in Meshmixer. So you can go edit and hollow. All right, and so yeah, you can see the hollow shape in there, and so the offset distance is 2 millimeters. So usually in, I think, Chitterbox I use 3 for like my like the wall thickness. So I think this is the equivalent of the wall distance. Is this right here? So I don't know if I want to change it to 3 or not. I would hit update hollow. All right, yeah, that's fine. It doesn't. Wow, that seems so thick, but this is such a small head. That's why. So let's just make it for this exercise. Let's make it 1. Okay, so that's all right. So there we go. And then hit. Now you can do things like, I don't know. Let's bump up accuracy up, I guess. I haven't played with all of these, and I forget what settings I used the last time, other than like wall thickness. I can't remember if I changed any of the others. Maybe I don't want to do that. Let's just put it there. And then holes per hollow. It's gonna, and you can choose how many holes you want to put in it and the size of them, but I don't think you get a ton of freedom and choice as to where they go. So I think I didn't. Let's see, did I not do anything? Oh, I did not do the generate holes. So I just ran update. So I would just run update hollow here. Okay. And then hit accept. All right, so now this model is hollowed. Now what I would do is I'm going to make my own holes here. So I'm gonna take this cylinder here, and I'm just gonna put one right in the middle here, and then I'm just gonna make a couple of duplicates. I'm going to pull this one down here. And another one over here. And this is what I did on my 18 inchers. Okay. Let's get rid of those. We'll just use 2 for an example, but I would put them sort of around the crown of the head, and then 1 right here. Then what I'm going to do in this case, I'm going to take these 2. I'm going to hit combine, so I don't, and then I'm going to select the pair of them and run a Boolean difference as opposed to doing them one at a time. Okay, I'm not going to bother clicking those here. Just hit OK. All right. So now I have hollowed this model in Meshmixer. I would add 1 in there as well. I'm going to use that Boolean difference method to create my drain holes. All right, then I would bring the helmet back, and you're going to have all these cavities inside the, inside the helmet between the padding and the head model, and so you're still going to be able to get all that drainage. You're going to be able to, drain. Resin's going to have a place to drain, and your IPA and all that. And now I would hit combine, so that this is 1 model. It's 1 model, but the head is hollow, and it's got, you don't even see them, but yeah, there's holes in the head to still supply the necessary drainage. Okay, so there's an instance where getting around sort of that whole when to use combine, not use combine, use Boolean union or not when you're considering hollowing. So in this case, I'm using the combine method, but doing my hollowing in Meshmixer here to make sure I don't run into issues. And then I can go ahead and export that out if I was going to use that. So bonus tip for today's episode. So hopefully this was helpful. As always, if you have any other suggestions for future tutorials, go ahead, drop them in the comments, or you know where to find me online. Hit me up in chat.